Jim was 20. He was tall and lanky, and his muscles was as hard as a splitting wedge. They got that way from making rails. I'd heard that Abe Lincoln was a good wrestler because he'd split rails when he was young, but I'll bet Jim would have given him a run. Jim and Mary had been going to church and spelling matches together for quite a while. Rip Bailey liked Mary, too. He was a no-good from down the creek a piece, and I guess Mary didn't have much use for him. Sometimes Mary and Jim would go walking off through the timber, just as if there wasn't anybody in the world but them. Once I saw them coming back when I was fishing. Jim was helping her across the creek when she slipped. I'll bet she did it on purpose. He caught her in his arms and held her there a long time. I watched as hard as I could, figuring I'd see them kiss, but I didn't. I guess it isn't so much to kiss anyhow. After Pa and Old Man Waldron had their fracas, Pa told Jim he wasn't to see Mary any more. Jim didn't argue. He just said that whatever Pa and the old man did wouldn't make any difference between him and Mary. Pa said it sure did. He wasn't going to have any secesh blood in the family, he allowed. Jim's kind of bullheaded. He walked off, not saying anything more. Pa started after him, scratching his nose and looking worried. I guess he could see that Jim set a store by Mary. Well, there we were, aiming to catch a mess of fish for supper, and Pa a million miles away. It did seem to me we had plenty of trouble without Pa putting up a flag for the Waldrons to see. It was bad enough having Jim moping around, his lips frozen up so he couldn't grin. I saw Mary in the store at Four Corners once. Her eyes were all red-puckered and not pretty bright like they used to be. I put a worm on my hook and went downstream a piece to another hole. If Pa wanted to go ahead and stew about a flagpole on a good fishing day like this, he could just stew. Me? I was going to get that skillet full of fish. I didn't even get my worm wet. Somebody was riding down through the timber toward us. Sounded like an army. I was mad enough to throw a rock at him. He'd have the fish scared for miles on both sides of us. I headed back to where Pa was, and then this feller came out of the firs, and I saw it was Ed Brent from Oregon City. "Howdy, Ed," Pa said. "What's your hurry?" "No hurry, just excited a little, maybe." Ed looked about ready to jump out of the saddle. "What's happened has happened. You heard?" "No, I haven't heard anything." Ed was skinny and long-necked, and he had an Adam's apple that bobbed around comical-like when he was excited. It sure was bobbing now. You'd thought he'd just seen a bear. "The Southerners fired on Fort Sumter, and Lincoln's called for a passel of volunteers." Pa sat down on a log and began to fill his pipe. "It's war, Ed, and I ain't real surprised. I didn't see no way to stop it with the rebels acting like they've been." "Oregon won't go out, will it?" Ed asked. "We voted for Lincoln last fall." "Ed, you know danged well that Breckinridge and Lane came mighty near carrying the state." Pa motioned toward the Waldron place. "What do you think the Waldrons are going to do? And Rip Bailey and the Copes family and the rest of them? I'm sitting in the middle of the biggest nest of rebels there is in the state of Oregon." "Huh. Then you'd better go easy." "Go easy?" Pa looked mad. "We can't do that, Ed. Wouldn't surprise me none if we had a war right here like they had in Kansas." Pa lighted his pipe, and you could see he was thinking hard. "Somebody's gonna make these folks show their colors. If we just flop around like jellyfish, they'll ride right over us and take Oregon out." Ed shifted in his saddle, looking at Pa uneasy-like. No sense kicking up trouble when you don't have to." Pa took the pipe out of his mouth and pointed the stem at Ed. "The thing to do is to kick trouble before it kicks you. Now the 4th is a mighty good day to make folks think about their country. Ma's gonna make a flag, and Jim and Bud and me will get a pole up. When the Waldrons and the rest of them see Old Glory flying, we'll soon know what they're fixin' to do." "Yeah, I guess so," Ed said, and rode away quick-like. We didn't do any fishing. Pa sat there smoking, and I laid on my back, looking at the sky through the fir needles. I'd heard talk about the Mexican War, but this would be a lot bigger. There'd be